He is here today to talk to you students about some very serious issues. Please welcome Al Gore.
Who?
Thank you, Mr. Mackey, students of South Park Elementary. I'm here to educate you about the single biggest threat to our planet. You see, there is something out there which threatens our very existence and may be the end to the human race as we know it. I'm talking, of course, about
global warming. In our country, we are responsible for more than all of South America, all of Africa, all of the Middle East, all of Asia, all combined.
Undoubtedly, Al Gore is the world's chief spokesman on global warming. But is he really doing it for the environment? Public records reveal that as Gore lectures Americans on excessive consumption, he and his wife live in 3 properties: a 10,000 square foot 20-room mansion in Nashville, Tennessee, another home in Carthage, Tennessee, and a 4,000 square foot home in Arlington, Virginia. For someone rallying the planet to pursue a path of extreme personal sacrifice, Gore requires little from himself. This 2006 USA Today article goes on to say that Gore is looking into installing green energy systems in his homes. President Carter put solar panels on the White House way back in 1979 in the midst of the energy crisis. If Gore's motives were genuine, would he be just looking into installing solar panels on his house some 27 years later? The Gore family has strong ties to big oil, most notably Occidental Petroleum, which has deforested land all over the world. Gore is also invested in mining companies that dump toxic waste into the air and water. After his unsuccessful bid for the presidency in 2000, Al Gore became a director of Apple Computer. A little background on Apple. Apple is the world's least green electronics company. If Gore really cared about the environment, why would he be a board director for a company that continually falls below green standards? In the face of public scrutiny, Apple finally adopted a recycling program in the fall of 2009. Gore had been on its board since 2001. In 2004, Gore and Goldman Sachs veteran David Blood founded Generation Investment Management, a company that owns a 3% share of the Climate Exchange. This firm, often dubbed Blood and Gore, will get a share of all future carbon taxes. Al Gore's book, An Inconvenient Truth, and the documentary movie were released in 2006. The film won an Academy Award for Best Documentary. In 2007, Gore was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his work in the global warming arena. But does Gore really know what he's talking about?
2 kilometers or so down, in most places there are these incredibly hot rocks, because the interior of the Earth is extremely hot, several million degrees, and the crust of the Earth is hot.
Well, several million degrees, that is more like the temperature of the sun. The scientific consensus is that the Earth's core is several thousand degrees at its hottest.
Of course, Gore probably didn't consider the sun, but as we discussed earlier, neither did the IPCC. Even as the global warming theory began to collapse, Gore went before Congress to argue for carbon taxes and to promote the doom and gloom associated with global warming.
There are warnings now of a far worse catastrophe, and they're coming from a unified IPCC representing the global scientific community, and if nothing were to be done about it, the results would be far worse.
In June of 2009, Gore traveled to London, where he gave this speech calling for global governance and global agreements to further the global warming agenda.
But it is the awareness itself that will drive the change. And one of the ways it will drive the change is through global governance and global agreements.
but the many business leaders who...
Then ClimateGate happened in November of 2009.
ClimateGate, those hacked emails are really great. Medieval warning now is gone, and the Maunder minimum had to decline.
We told you Wednesday about Al Gore's claim that those ClimateGate emails, which some experts say impugn global warming science, are dated, even though the most recent was sent out just last month.
You've repeatedly said the oldest ClimateGate email is 10 years old. It's actually 2 months. Will you correct the record?
Excuse me, we're not doing interviews right now.
Mr. Gore.
Gore refused to talk to the press about ClimateGate.
I worry. My mom worries. The water might rise and it might flood the whole town.
We won't be able to survive for long.
What are you most worried will happen?
We'll all die.
Are there some people who say this isn't true?
Yes. Yes.
Might they be right?
No.
How do you know they're not right?
Well, because the earth is getting hotter.
Where do you learn this?
I saw the Al Gore
movie.
A judge in the British High Court, after a lengthy hearing, found there were 9 significant errors. This has been shown to children. Do you accept those findings, and have you done anything to correct those errors?
Well, I'm not going to go through all of those. That's really the bottom line on that. There's been such a long discussion of each one of those specific things.
So Al Gore wrote a follow-up book which called for a spiritual approach toward climate change, inasmuch as the so-called science behind an inconvenient truth had been disproved. Gore's new book, Our Choice, was also available in a young reader's edition.
Vice President Al Gore was in Chicago today to sign copies of his new book, Our Choice. There was a long line of supporters at the Borders bookstore on State Street. Our Choice is a follow-up to Gore's Academy Award-winning documentary, An Inconvenient Truth. Gore has championed environmental issues for many years. His book is described as a call to action that answers many of the questions posed by the film. Gore was a co-recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize in 2007 for his work in climate change.
This man wants to create a centralized global government. 31,000 scientists. That man this is Nazi fascism.
Any comments on ClimateGate? The emails that prove it's a scam, it's a farce. Global warming is a joke. Any comment? Comment on ClimateGate? ClimateGate, First Amendment rights here. ClimateGate, ClimateGate, research ClimateGate. This guy's a fraud. It's a scam. They are trying to institute a global government through a carbon tax. This guy's working on a carbon tax. That's all it is. It's global government. There are 30,000 scientists trying to sue them.
In the end, Gore canceled his book tour and also canceled scheduled appearances for the Copenhagen Climate Summit in December of 2009. When it looked doubtful the climate treaty would be adopted, Gore decided to fly to Copenhagen at the last minute and tell some more lies.
There's a 75% chance that the entire North Polar ice cap during some of the summer months could be completely ice-free within the next 5 to 7 years.
The Copenhagen summit failed to get a treaty adopted. The Nobel Prize Gore received was awarded for bad science. The Nobel Committee passed up the chance to award the prize to a real hero. Irina Sendler was a Polish Catholic social worker who saved 2,500 Jewish children from the Nazis. As a teenager, Sendler worked as a plumber's apprentice and began to smuggle infants out of the Warsaw Ghetto, often hiding them in her toolbox. These pictures, taken in 2005, show Sendler with some of the people she saved as children. Irina Sendler died in 2008. She was 98 years old.
We now have several $1 trillion of subprime carbon assets, whose value is based on an assumption that it's perfectly okay to put 70 million tons of that pollution up there every 24 hours. So the reason, in answering the first question, is why can't we ignore it because it's the biggest crisis we've ever faced.
And no one who's come before this committee from a scientific basis can show us the smoking gun that mankind is causing this to happen.
Could it be that Al Gore is simply full of hot air?